Kapatayan religion. Because Sanghyang Tungal with its two main characteristics is unseen, to worship it requires a means that can be approached by the five senses and the human mind. Thus, in the teachings of the Kapatayan there is a belief which states that the power of the Taya which is personal in Tu or Tu is personal in everything that has the name Tu or Tu such as Watu, stone, Tu rumbak, banyan tree, Tu gu, Tu lang, Tu endok, building with steps, Tu tud, heart, spleen, Tu san, heirloom, Tu pung, Tu yacht, water. In performing worship services to Sanghyang Taya, 2 pung offerings are provided in 2 mpi, woven bamboo basket, 2 ak, wine, 2 kung, a type of chicken, to be offered to Sanghyang Tugal whose magical nature is hidden behind something that has supernatural powers such as Watu, 2 gu, 2 rumbak, 2 lang, 2 endok, to san, to ya. However, to make a bad wish, this offering would be made to the Hantu whose name was the Manikmaya with a bad offering named 2 bal. In contrast to the offerings to Sanghyang Tugal which is a devotional worship through an intermediary, the Kapatayan clergy perform prayers directly to Sanghyang Tugal in a special room called Sangar, a rectangular building with 2 mpang roof, with tutuk hole, in the east wall as a symbol of Sanghyang emptiness, following certain rules. At first the clergyman performs 2 lajeg, standing upright, facing the tutuk hole, with both hands raised upwards presenting the Sanghyang Taya into the tutud heart. After feeling Sanghyang Taya present in the heart, both hands are lowered to the chest right at tutud heart. This position is called swadikep, sidakep, holding one's self. The tulajeg process is carried out in a long time. After the tulajeg is finished, the prayer is continued with the 2 cool position, bowing looking at the Javanese Kapatayan belief. The ancestor who was first known as a Kapatayan advocate was Danghyang Samar, a firm descendant of the first modern man, Homo sapiens, who was passed down to the world, namely Adam. In the ancient books of Pramayoga and Pustakaraja Purwa, the lineage of the prophet Adam to Danghyang Samar is explained as follows. Prophet Adam to Prophet Sias to Anwas and Anwar to Hyang Nur Rasa to Hyang Wenong to Single Hyang to Hyang Ismaya to Wungkuhan to Smarasanta, Samar. According to the story, the country of origin of Danghyang Samar is Lemuria or Swetadwipa, a black nation from the continent who drowned due to a large flood which caused Danghyang Samar and his people to flee to the archipelago. Danghyang Samar has a brother named Sang Hantaga, Tagalog, who lives in another area who also teaches Kapatayan. Another Samar brother named Manikmaya becomes a ruler in the unseen realm called Ka Hyang and Kyangan. In simple terms, Kapatayan can be described as a belief that worships the main worship called Sanghyang Taya, which means empty, empty, suwang, awang yuwang. Taya means the absolute, which cannot be thought and imagined, cannot be approached by the 5 senses. The ancient Javanese defined Sanghyang Taya in one sentence, Tan Kena Kinaya Napa, which means that his existence cannot be neglected. The word Taya means nothing but exists, does not exist but exists. For this reason, in order to be known and worshipped by humans, Sanghyang Taya is depicted as personal in a name and character called Tu or Ta, which means a thread, supernatural power which is supernatural in nature. Tu or Ta is singular in essence, one person. Tu ordinary is called Sanghyang Tugal. He has 2 qualities, namely goodness and unkindness. Tu which is good is called Tukbawa, which is also done in a relatively long tempo. Then it is continued with the T-pile position, kneeling with both heels occupied, for a relatively long time. The last one, done in the T-nd hem position, prostrate like a baby in its mother's stomach, is also done for a long time. After praying for so long, Rohaniawan Kapatayan with all his feelings tried to maintain the continuity of the Sanghyang Taya that had been buried in the Tutud heart. A devotee of Sanghyang Taya who is considered pious will be gifted with 2 positive supernatural powers, and 2 negative antidotes to supernatural powers. Those who have 2 and 2 are considered entitled to become community leaders with the title Ra-2 or Dha-2. In the teachings of the Kapatayan, the Ra-2 or Dha-2 who have been blessed with 2 and 2 each of their movements will be marked by Pi, which is the power of the hidden Sanghyang Taya. That is why Ra-2 or Dha-2 calls itself the pronoun Pi Nakahulan. If you speak it is called Pi Dha-2, Pi Dato. If giving teaching is called Pi Wulong. If giving instructions is called Pi Accusation. If giving advice is called Pi Said. If it gives punishment is called Pi Dana. If it exudes dignity it is called Pi Dexa. If he dies, he is called Pi Terra. A Ra-2 or Dha-2 is the embodiment of the supernatural power of the Sanghyang Taya, the personal image of the singular Sanghyang. These are the teachings that have been embraced by the archipelago since ancient times and have survived to this day with different names and methods in line with the development of the human race and its culture. In the modern era, this teaching is still fully embraced by some inland tribal communities with their respective terms such as Sunda Wiwitan in the Sundanese tribe, Kejawan in the Javanese tribe, Kaharingan, Jilik Rawat in the Dayak tribe, Ugamo Malam in the Batak tribe. The religions that currently exist are external influences that have only recently come since the early century AD, such as Hinduism and Buddhism from India and China, Christianity from Europe, and Islam, which are influences from various countries such as Persia, Arabic, Rum, Gujarat, China, and Champa extract from the writings of the study of Ki Nabahi H. Agus Sunyoto. The author will raise the writings obtained from various sources with a few comments, which proves that the original civilization of the archipelago was the Lemurian civilization, which was continued by Atlantis, represented by the culture of the Balinese people. The study presented by Hugo, Human Genome Organization, through genetic studies of various Asian nations, empirically shows that it is not the other way around. Other migrations from the south first entered Southeast Asia and then traveled slowly north. Solheim and others have shown evidence for the Nusantara maritime trade network ranging from Vietnam to the rest of the archipelago as early as 5000 BC to 1 AD. Southeast Asian nations, especially those of Austronesian descent, have been sailors for thousands of years, some reaching the island of Madagascar. Their ships, such as the Vinta Magellan shipping, recorded how much maneuvered their ships were, compared to European ships. Travel through the Indian Ocean was assisted by the colonization of Madagascar by Austronesian people, as well as trade between West and Southeast Asia. Gold from Sumatra is thought to have reached as far west as Rome, while slaves from the Sulu Sea are believed to have been used in Magellan's voyages as translators. In the discussion in this book, the author presents Balinese culture as representing the Nusantara culture, because in this Balinese culture the author gets the basic things as evidence that the previous civilization before Atlantis was the Lemurian civilization that existed in the archipelago. Balinese culture. Babad Bali. Pranamyam Sira Dawam, Buktimukti Atartaya, Prawakshetwa Vania, Brahmanam Kasatriati, Pateswara. My servant prostrate before Ida Sang Hyang Parama Wisesa, who bestows all the good and bad qualities, ala-ayuning, of human life in this world. Hopefully there will be no obstacles in the writing of this Babad historical literature. I am free from all mistakes, because I do not understand the Tatwa Purana, and with a sincere and pure heart intend to compile historical stories, as an effort to remind families and children and grandchildren. Hopefully succeed and reach the perfection of empty. That's the beginning of this story. In the view of Balinese culture, the author here considers Bali to be the remaining culture of civilization, which underlies civilization in the world. Among them is Indian culture, which has been considered the archipelago culture of India to be inappropriate. Long ago, when there was no sun, moon, stars, and planets, including this planet Earth, there is only Sang Hyang Embang, who is the most soul. He is enormous, fills the universe, which is infinite in extent but also very small, so that it can be loose in the smallest hole. At that time everything was perfect, wholly because nothing but Hyang Widi was perfect. Namely created Sang Hyang Listen, who is also called Sang Hyang Eka Aksara, namely Ankara. Then Sang Hyang Eka Aksara did Samadhi Yoga. Thus was born Sang Hyang Purusa Pradana. The two of them are also called Sang Hyang Aksara and Sang Hyang Pratiwi. Both are also called Rwa Binata. In both characters are called Sang Hyang Dwi characters, namely Ang, Ah. Then Sang Hyang Purusa Pradana did Samadhi Yoga. Sang Hyang Tri Purusa was born, namely the Balinese chronicle when nature was still empty, Sang Hyang Siwa, Sang Hyang Sada Siwa, and Sang Hyang Parama Siwa. In the form of Sang Hyang Tri Purusa, the Tri Purusa is Ang Ung Mang, who is often called Tri Aksara. The Tri Akasara is a symbol of Sang Hyang Brahma, Sang Hyang Wisnu, and Sang Hyang Siwa. The three names of God then create nature and its contents, maintain and melt or neutralize it back to its origin. After that, the Almighty Creator created a pair of human seeds. Male, female, or Ardanareswari. After being cleansed, the two of them are put into coconuts. After being given an incantation so that they become holy, they are manifested like a hermit in the middle of a great mountain. There they performed penance by worshipping Batara Hyang Pasupati, so that they would immediately come down from the island of Bali, to become lords and worshippers on this island. Manu and Adam. In the Abrahamic religious scriptures which explicitly acknowledge only Adam was the first human and try to explain that genetics produced different races. Eve as Adam's partner was created from Adam's rib. So scientifically, Adam's genes should be the same as Eve's. If these two partners mate and produce offspring, then of course the offspring they produce should have the same genes. Manu is the first man. Manu is Manu itself, whereas Sia means descent. So, human means all the descendants of Manu. Returning to the Vedic account of the first man. According to the Vedas, which explains that to date on this earth there have been 7 Manus, which clearly states that the different races that exist today originate from the 7 Manus which have different genetics and interbreeding between them. In the explanation above we find that there is a race consisting of descendants of 7 in number. So the descendants of the current Manu are a combination of 7 and can be a combination of descendants again. The Veda explains that the end will occur when Brahma, who is the architect of the universe, dies at the age of 100 in the Satya Loka universe. Before going to the next explanation, you should first understand that time on Earth, different from time on other planets or in other dimensions, is in accordance with the laws of time and space relativity. Law of Manu, Code of Manu, is a continuation of the resume of the book where below is explained about the Law of Manu, Code of Manu. This book was written by Ed. Viswanathan, translated by N.P. Putra. The Manu Code is an ethical code written by Rishi Manu. Very little is known about Manu. In mythology, he is known as Manu Swayambhuva. The Manu Code is known as Manu Smriti or Manu Shamita or Manawa Dharmashastra. An important part of the Manu book is an explanation of the popular color system. Manu wrote, "For the growth of the world, Brahman created the Brahmana, class of Pandita, Kshatriya, class of warriors, Vaisya, class of merchants, and Sudra, class of manual, physical workers." Book 1 provides an explanation of creation. Manu recorded a very complete and thorough explanation of the creation of the universe. In the beginning the universe was born out of darkness, and God created the world, light and water, that is the order. From the water came out a golden egg, and from within that golden egg he himself was born as Lord Brahma, God the Creator. Then Lord Brahma created a man and a woman. The Manu Code also mentions the theory of reincarnation. Manu wrote, "Man gets a movable life, plants, trees, etc., as a result of crimes committed with the body, lives as birds and beasts as a result of crimes committed by speech, and the lowest life as a result of crimes committed with thoughts." Quote, "Living as a sannyasin means submitting one's free will to God's will." In Hinduism there is a story that is very similar to the story of Noah's boat. According to one of the stories in the early Hindu scriptures, namely the Satapatha Brahmana, when Manu was bathing in the sea a fish stopped in his hand. The fish said, "Take care of me, later I will save you from the great flood." At first Manu didn't believe it but then decided to follow the fish's request. Manu put the fish in a small barrel. When the fish grew beyond the barrel, Manu put it in a small pond. Then the fish grew bigger than the small pond and became a giant. Then the fish advised Manu to build a boat and reminded him of a great flood that will destroy the whole world. Manu followed the fish's advice and built a boat. This fish was Lord Vishnu's first avatar, popularly known as Matsya Avatar. When the great flood arrived, Manu got into the boat. The flood carried the boat to the top of a mountain. The flood washed away all creatures, and only Manu himself survived. After the flood receded, Manu descended into the valley. It is said that he worked his life starting for 4,320,000,000 years, the time for the 4 Yuga. Krita or Sathya, Treta, Devyapara and Kali. Hindus believe that this story will repeat itself at the beginning of countless universes. The name Manu means the head of the family of the rulers of the earth, patriarchal earth ruler. Manu comes and goes at the beginning of the creation of the universe in infinite time. Each Manu lives for a period called the Manvantara, Manu period. According to one mythological tale, one kalpa, 8,640,000,000 human years, consists of 14 Manus or Paramanus. The 14 Manus are 1. Swayambhuva, lawgiver Manu, lawgiver. 2. Svarochisha. 3. Main. 4. Tamasa. 5. Ravida. 6. Chakshusa. 7. Vaivasvata, Hindu Noah, modern Manu. 8. Savarna, forthcoming. 9. Daksha Savarna. 10. Brahma Savarna. 11. Dharma Savarna. 12. Rudra Savarna. 13. Rachya. 14. Bhatya.